Listened to and viewed in more than 95 countries around the world. I'm your host, Conan Bruce. Joining me is Tyler McQueen, and we are the GridCast. All right, guys, welcome to episode 48 of the GridCast. We're really excited about this week's episode because we've got Josh Plosker from the Boston Iron. We've got Mel McManus from the Northeast Grid League. We went up to their first matches of the Northeast Grid League for this season. It was a blast. They had, hundreds of athletes, and honestly, probably 100 or so spectators that were watching. It was an awesome event. You guys are going to see a little bit of that going on the background of the interview, but let me tell you why I'm really excited about this week's show is because, yes, we do highlight the Boston Iron. We talk to Coach Plosker about last season, the season coming up, their hope for a better season than last season. Last season was awesome. But here's the thing. When we talk to Mel McManus, commissioner of the Northeast Grid League, one of the things I want you guys to think about during this episode is the future of grid. If you like this sport, and I think you do because you're watching this show or you're listening to this show, here's the thing. Grid is brand new. We're just in the infant stages, right? There's going to come a day, like with the CrossFit Games, right? My kids, I have girls, my kids do think about, hey, I'd like to go to the CrossFit Games. They've grown up in CrossFit. They've grown up in a CrossFit gym. It is definitely possible for teens and kids out there to kind of have that aspiration. Well, grid is relatively new, but we're the only way we're going to make that possible for kids to have those same aspirations is to truly grow this amateur level and below of grid competition. And the people that are putting on these amateur leagues, like the Northeast Grid League and other ones around the country, the guys that started the amateur level, the Southern Amateur Grid League, the SAGL, here in the Mid-Atlantic, we're trying to do the same things. Folks out on the West Coast are doing it. The point is, that is the future of grid. If you're not backing or if you have a local amateur grid league and you're not supporting them, man, you're doing a disservice to the sport. Get out there, spectate, help them find sponsors. If you are a business, sponsor them. Do whatever it can take to help build the sport, because I truly do believe, and I think most of you do too, that this sport is exciting. It has a lot of elements about it that are cool, where you don't have to be good at everything. You can be a specialist. You can perform on the grid in a way that you never could in the sport of CrossFit. So here's the thing, pay attention to some of the things that we talk about. Some of you athletes out there who want to rise to the next level, Coach Plosker talks about some of the things that you can do to make that happen. It's a really exciting show, and we guys hope you enjoy it. We hope you are liking the new format. It's a little different. It's taken us a while to get used to. Tell you what, let's just get on with the show and check out this interview.
We love to lift, laugh, and improve. This is Björk Odinsdatter.
Hey guys, welcome to the GridCast. We are just outside Boston, Massachusetts today, here with the 2015 NPGL Coach of the Year, Josh Plosker.
What's up, brother?
Thanks for being on the show.
Are you kidding me? I love being on this show.
So what is going on behind us, man?
Oh man, today's the kickoff of the NPGL, the NEGL, the Northeast Grid League. We started our season off. This is the first day of matches. We got 5 teams coming in to compete against each other today. 3 teams out of Connecticut, 1 in Massachusetts, 1 in Providence, Rhode Island. And,
so we're going to get into the real details down and dirty of the NEGL when we bring Mel on.
Cool.
Here in a minute. Let's talk about your team, the Boston Iron.
Oh, the Boston Iron.
You guys had a great year last year.
We did. The crew we had last year was just amazing, and I can't wait to get this season rocking and rolling again. I can't wait to get those guys back up here. We've had a bunch of athletes actually move this way. Whitney Galin is up here in the Northeast now. Mike Abgarian's up here, and it just makes such a huge difference.
It makes a big difference.
Jamie Gold's now on the East Coast, so it makes a huge difference in terms of what we're going to be able to do practice-wise. And we put a lot of time in practice-wise last year preseason, so this year should be even better.
So let's start off back up all the way to the beginning of last season. There was a lot of talk with you coming on as the head coach. making a few changes, right? And you come in, and now first off, you're up against DC, guys that win, 2014. Had a little rocky start, but you made it to the playoffs. Let's talk about that first match. So when you went up against DC, it's obviously going to be a tough match.
Yep.
With the loss, though, what changes did you make? What happened to the team? How did it feel to the team?
Yeah.
Give us a sense of what was going on.
I mean, if you're really getting back to the details of that match, what a lot of people didn't know is that after race 5, Ben Sturgill hurt his back. So Ben comes out of the match, really he made it through the ladder, but we had to put Tola in right after the ladder. And so, I mean, we're talking about a 19-year-old kid at the time, who was maybe going to play just a little bit, ends up having to step in for our star player, for the rest of that match. So
it's a heck of a rookie start.
It's a heck of a rookie start. So those were some of the nuances, but at the same time, we're playing DC. They're an amazing team. They're extremely well coached. They got amazing athletes, and I think our guys were there to play. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure they 1,000% believed in all that we were doing. They were close, but not enough to go out there and beat a team like DC. And we made too many mistakes, and we had to regroup and come back and take it to New York, and that was our
thought. You come out of DC, you go into New York and Baltimore. Let's not even get to Baltimore yet. You come to New York, tough team.
Yep. Oh, extremely tough.
Beat those guys.
Yep.
What does that do for the Iron? How does that feel? What changes did you make in between? Were there any real changes, or was it just
some personnel changes? We really looked deep at just where some of our mistakes were coming from, what we were doing. We knew we had to create a little bit more speed in some areas, and our guys needed to step up more. And that was the role that they all played, and they believed so much in what we had going on. They believed so much in themselves and the Iron and the team that we were creating, that it just needed that little spark, and that New York win was that little spark that we needed, because then they knew they could win, and they knew they could go beat a tough team, because New York, I mean, you put that team down on paper, holy, right. I mean, they're amazing, and their record didn't show exactly what they're capable of, and those guys are going to be coming out with a vengeance this year, and they're going to be pretty scary, and it's going to really be up to us in the draft to find some things to actually not just hold off DC next year, but also New York.
Yeah, Eastern Conference is tough.
Yeah,
it's
really
a tough
is.
Conference.
It really is.
The went on to Baltimore. Got to give it to Baltimore the fact that they're a new team, right? New franchise, not first time out.
Yep.
They come up against you guys, and you guys were, I think as the Gridmaster put it, you guys were a snowball turning into an avalanche or something of that nature, right? I mean, you guys were on a roll. You're motivated, and you go up against a new team and you crushed them, right? But that had to be good though, still, to kind of keep that momentum.
The guys just needed it. It was great coming off of one win. That was awesome, but we knew that we needed to take it the next step. We knew that we needed to play like a championship team and go out there and not take advantage of Baltimore, but we needed to go out there and show that we were a powerhouse in the league, and that our guys were there to play, and that was their motivation. They went out there to show that we could take it to Baltimore's got phenomenal athletes,
right?
And
they just need time.
They need time, and so, but that was a turning point for us where we knew that we needed to turn it on in those races and make sure we came away with a big win, not just a win, but we had to put it on. So we focused on it. We got ready for that match. We got ready for their athletes. We knew where they had some real capabilities of taking it to us, and we put it together. The guys were ready to win.
What do you tell your team in those different moments? Because there's a different low from coming out, going against a hard team like DC and losing, coming out playing a hard team like New York and winning, and then crushing Baltimore. What do you say to your team in those different times as a coach to keep them where they need to be? Either not going too much, or, you know what I mean?
We stay really focused on what our abilities are. I take a ton of time looking at the other team, but I don't really give my guys the opportunity to take a look a lot at the other team. And we don't harp too much on DC or New York.
You guys
or
don't
Baltimore.
watch film together.
A little bit. I'll probably pull some individuals in together to take a look at certain scenarios on where we need to look at. I have a couple of guys that really love to watch film and other guys who could just care less. Just tell me what to do and we're going to go. But then I got a guy like Mike Abgarian who absolutely loves to watch film and, strategize and do that. So I wrap those guys together. But as a team, we really don't focus on those other guys. We just focus on what our abilities are and what we can do. And I really let them know where we have to turn on certain races and other ones where not that we turn it off, but just places we really need to focus is something that we strategize a lot around. Places where I really believe that we can win in certain areas.
You talked about Abgarian moving closer and Galen moving closer.
Yep.
How important a part do you think it plays to have these athletes that are on a team to actually be in the area, work together, train together, talk to each other, hang out?
It's everything. It's everything. Just the way I believe in teams, it's about constant process of being all together all the time. If I could have them all here, I would. It's just not feasible at this point. But
a lot of fans ask why. So I mean, it's a pretty simple answer.
It costs.
It's money, right? It's financial. It's logistics.
Yeah, exactly. Unless we could create jobs here for them, which is not always possible. It's just the cost of getting those guys here is very difficult. But we spend a lot of time, Facebook. I mean, we have a big Facebook group together. We spend a lot of time on the phone, especially as we get closer to the season, talking back and forth between one another. These guys, the athletes, are always online with each other all the time. They always talk, which is really cool. But
so it's like a virtual locker room.
Yeah, exactly. And the more time that they get to spend with each other, the more time that they get to train with one another, the more they get to know each other. The more the passion builds for winning with one another. So more time, the better.
So we ended up last year. You guys made it to the Eastern Conference final, and you faced DC again.
Yeah.
So tell me about that match.
Oh man, we were so ready for that match, and no one believed in us, which was still cool.
If you were there, you could see the hunger.
Yeah, they were fired up. We had it, man. We were, I think, game plan wise, across the board, athlete wise, we were there. And I thought of all the matches. Obviously, I'm biased, but I thought of all the matches that took place in the NPGL last season. That was by far the most fun match to watch because it was close. It was really close. And if you, again, hopefully at some point we really get people who like to study the sport, because if you really go back and look at the film and you see where it was like, there were details, like little details between a win and loss.
Most people right now are paying attention to Quadrant 4, and they don't realize something happened in Quadrant 2 or 3 that was really important.
Yeah, exactly. Race 1, we come out, and we lose by literally, it wasn't even a half a second. But Tola gets no-repped 4 times in Quadrant 1. 4 times, and we catch all the way back up and lose within a half a second. Those no reps don't happen, which there's questions there that we're going to need to determine for next year. But we don't get those no reps, we win race 1.
Right. But it happens in a lot of sports.
Exactly.
Right? We're going to watch it happen in football and in soccer and everything.
And like I said, in one of the interviews I think I did with you guys, or at some point in time afterwards, you can't make mistakes and hope to beat a team like DC.
Right.
But if you go race by race and look at all that stuff in the back and forth, I mean, that win or loss came down to literally details, small details, which is so cool. But you got to study the sport to
it was an incredible match to watch in person.
Yeah.
And so, what do you do? What does the Boston Iron do to end 2016 with the Pinnacle Trophy in your hands? What do you do?
We again, a lot of it comes back to introducing the Boston Iron to new athletes, getting into pro days, combines, and draft. We win in the draft. And we win by practice with our guys. You
guys drafted some pretty good folks last year.
We had a pretty good draft last year. We were excited about it. We gotta understand who we're going to release in free agency, who we might be able to pick up in free agency if anyone comes available. So there's a lot of details that are about to come out in the next 2 or 3 months. That are going to make a big impact. How do trades come into play? Come draft time.
Right.
If we can figure some of those things out and mix and match a few things, we might be able to pull out a few strong, really good athletes that will help us compete against a team like DC and New York, and no doubt in my mind, Baltimore's they're going to be hungry this year.
Yeah, I went ahead and just came out and picked them for the playoff. I think they're going to regroup. I think Garrett's he's got the right plan. He's just got to figure out how to execute it.
Yep.
So it's going to be fun to watch those guys. We've talked about the Boston Iron. Now we want to talk about the Northeast Grid League. Before we do that, we're going to take a break so we can bring on Mel and get some talking about the Northeast Grid League. We'll be right back after this commercial break. All right, guys, welcome back. We are here at CrossFit Fair Warning. Now we brought in Mel McManus, the commissioner of the Northeast Grid League.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
First time on the show, right?
First time, yes.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us about what's going on. What teams do we have? Give us a sense, give the fans a sense of what's going on over here. And we talked a little bit about with Josh when we first came in, but season opener, what's going on?
This is our season opener, so we have all 5 teams coming out today. 2 teams raced each other just a little while ago. We've got 1 team out there right now racing themselves, although they're racing the clock, so their times will be compared to the 2 teams that were out there before them, and then we have 2 more teams coming out after that. Yeah,
and I want to come back to that in a minute and talk about the realities of running something like this and why that needed to be. Because I think that's important, because a lot of people, feedback that we get is, hey, I want to do something like this, but there's no information out there. There's no rule book. There's nothing. So you guys giving some insight as to how that came about and why is going to be important. But let's talk about the evolution. Let's start at the beginning. Why start an amateur grid league? Why even do it in the first place? What drove you to it?
Well, we all really started out just as fans of grid. So you had all of these athletes in the area that were really fans of the Boston Iron and all of the other teams out here on the Northeast. But like any sport, you watch it, you want to play it. You see these guys, they look amazing, you want to do the same thing. So we had a lot of people that wanted to be fans and also wanted to be players. So that's really sort of how it all started. How can I do that? I want to do this. So in addition to trying to become pro, they really needed a place to go and practice in order to make that reality happen.
Right, because the reality is, just like in the NFL or the MLB or anywhere, not everybody's going to make it to the pros. Doesn't mean you can't play the sport. Right. We can all still go play football or baseball. So what were some of the largest challenges you had of creating something like this?
Mostly, getting the word out there, people wanting to play. Like I said, there were already a lot of people that wanted to play, just working out the logistics of it, where to put teams, getting the right operators in place, people who understood why we were doing this and wanted to get into it for the right reasons.
So that's important, though. Would you take any team that came along? Or would you vet them?
We definitely vetted them. I think it's important. We didn't just want as many teams as we could get. We wanted the right personalities, the right people on those teams to run those teams. So it's not just a coach. Every team has a general manager. They've got some people in the back of the house in addition to the coaches and all the people in the front of the house. So they had to come with a pretty robust operating team.
Yeah, it's a really important point. It started with the operators, people who actually understood what it is we were trying to get out of it. You can't just put a team together and hope to pull a bunch of people in, and it doesn't work that way. So we went through a pretty good vetting process with our initial teams, and we're starting with these 5 guys and or 5 teams, and
so what
eventually
are the teams? Let's
grow.
give them a shout out. What are the teams?
So we have the Hartford Hammer, who you saw earlier against the Providence Villains. Right now you have the New Haven County Miners. Later you're going to have the Danbury Mad Hatters and the Bridgewater Gladiators. And those last 2 teams were the teams that you saw out in California. Yeah.
They went to the Grid Invitational.
They did.
Yep.
So you guys had, how was it you determined, you had a tournament, right? You had a tournament last year that helped you determine who went to the Grid Invitational. Is that right?
Yeah,
exactly.
We took a first and a second place team and sent them out to California.
And won the whole thing.
They did win the whole thing. They did.
That is pretty awesome. So talking about the teams, we talked about the challenges for the league. You'll kind of have to put yourself in their place, but you probably have some insight. What are their challenges? So if you're a person out there wanting to start a team, what are some of the things they need to think about? What are some of the things that you think are important but really aren't? That sort of thing. Give us some insight into that sort of stuff.
The first thing is just, it really is all logistics. Making sure that you have a home training facility that's in a place that people can actually get to practice. There's some homework that you can send out, but really people need to be able to get together and actually go through some of these races. They have access to this facility anytime they want it, so they can come and practice here.
So the teams can come here and train?
They can absolutely come here and train anytime they want. But outside of that, being able to get together at a home training facility, making sure that it fits in their schedule. So they've got a lot of people have other stuff going on, so getting it to fit in their schedule still.
Funding. How important is funding? Sponsorship, money.
It's important. So on top of that, we want people who have a vision for their organization as well. You're not just coming in here just to play the sport. You need to have a great coach that's going to have the ability to come out and find some great athletes to come play for you. But the organization needs to have a vision of, okay, I need to be able to create. It's a minimal amount of sponsorship dollars, but they need to want to have to do that. They need to want to be able to grow a team that is not only supported by the winnings that they may win in our league, but also by some of the smaller sponsorship dollars that are out there, and they're out there. Some of our teams last year had a lot of success. Bridgewater and Danbury, a lot of success getting themselves out to California based on sponsorship. So they need to have a vision of where they see their organization going.
That's good. So this is the kickoff. We're starting the season. What does the season look like for the NEGL this year?
We're going to have 4 matches, then we're going to take a little bit of a break. A lot of these players are committed elsewhere after February, and then we'll pick back up, I believe, in May
or June, yeah.
When we say committed elsewhere, we're talking about the regionals.
Yeah.
Some of them going to regionals. We can say CrossFit on this. It's okay.
I know that.
We say CrossFit.
The opens, the regionals.
It's not a dirty word.
No, it's actually been an awesome thing for, what I think is super positive about all this is now you're getting a collective group of anywhere from, 16 to 20 athletes to come compete with each other on an ongoing basis. And a lot of these guys are kind of drawing in these athletes to be a part of something bigger than just grid. It's grid. It's, being able to train with other people to help you get ready for the opens, get ready for regionals and all that stuff. So we're just bringing bigger pools of athletes together under our coaching umbrella, which is going to help across the board. We have a lot of guys here who are great CrossFit athletes and, but wanted to play grid, and they should be able to do that. And vice versa, guys who are really great grid athletes but still want to participate in it really is, it's going hand in hand, and that's one of the most positive things that has spun out of being able to bring these collective groups together. It gives you a better talent pool to train against. And personally for me, I think that's one of the best programming methods in the world is, not some great programmer, but just being able to train together on an ongoing basis. To me, you can't beat that.
So if I'm this is a question for both of you, and we'll do ladies first. So if I am a, up and coming, I want to play grid. Maybe I don't have a place to play grid, but I want to train. I do have a place to train. I'm looking to get noticed. I'm looking to get on a team, whether it's either at the amateur level or at the pro level. What type of things should I do, A, to get noticed, and B, like what kind of training should I be doing?
The thing that I've noticed mostly over the last 3 months especially is on social media. A lot of people are filming themselves doing various things, and they're tagging the Northeast Grid League, or they're tagging some of the amateur leagues just to get out there, just say, look what I can do. And then outside of that, they are either directly reaching out to the coaches or the operators of the teams they want to play for, just saying, can I come up and practice with you guys? Can I run around with you? That's always welcome. And then we have combines and tryouts as well that they come to.
So you guys did like combine type tryouts?
We did.
Announced them, and did the teams run those? Did the league run them?
We ran it with their help. The teams did come up, so they brought their current players to come up because it was also good practice for them. Right. And in addition to the people wanting to show their talent, we also needed to throw them on a team and see how they did with teammates. Right. A video is a video, but then you throw them in a stressful situation, and you want to see that play out. So that was helpful.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things you see the most when you see a functional fitness athlete, whatever they're doing, get into grid and realize all of a sudden I have to talk to people. I have to communicate. Yeah. And that's something you don't have to do when it's just you in the zone doing a workout.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? It's very different. So, Josh, tell us, what are you looking for in athletes out there? What should they do to prepare? How should they train?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for any athlete who wants to, try grid and play in this sport, it is just getting a chance to reach out to those, coaches, operators, other athletes that are out there. These leagues are a phenomenal way to see really kind of what you got. I know specifically for me, I pulled 2 athletes in the draft last year from the SAGL, and that was a big thought process behind this. Like, you can't beat experience. And so getting these guys out here racing, and I already have my eye on a few of these guys. Like, this is a huge recruiting ground for me, and I get to see some people come along and, see them kind of mature, in this sport. And if this sport does go somewhere, I mean, here's my feeder system for guys that I know specifically. I get to talk to their coaches. I get to talk to them at these things. And eventually they go to the pro day and combines, and I already know what I'm looking for out of them. And it's just it's a great feeder system. I mean, there's an 18-year-old out here today who came out of nowhere, strong as hell. And so, that's really exciting stuff for me as, an NPGL coach as well. So it really is kind of, coming together in that way.
Awesome. Well, you guys heard it here. So you guys need to get noticed, get on social media, train your butt off, and reach out to people and let them know that you're interested, right?
Definitely communicate.
We're looking for big things from the Boston Iron this year, Pinnacle Trophy.
Pinnacle Trophy.
All right. And awesome things for the NEGL. And we thank you guys for watching today, and we will see you next time on the GridCast.
Awesome.
All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the show. And now,
clean up your jerks and snatches.
Drink your beer in batches.
And always dominate your grid matches.
We'll see you next time.